There's a lot of conference news. Xbox will recover faster. And, well, let's talk about everything else. Happy Friday, everybody. February is now over, although we still have one more day thanks to the leap year. There's been a lot going on in the industry. There's just a lot of movement. No Q&A this week. I actually just kind of forgot. I got really busy yesterday and forgot to put the thread up, but there's still a lot to discuss this week, including conferences. And so we're going to kick things off here with Microsoft making an announcement this week that, hey, they are not going to hit their earnings as projected about middle of January. And so what is happening here is that the COVID-19 virus or coronavirus is taking its toll on the global economy. Now, what is the problem here for Microsoft is that, hey, they make actual PCs, right? The Surface brand did almost $2 billion last quarter. They also make a lot of money selling Windows licenses. And to sell a Windows license, a Windows OEM partner has to build a laptop. And China has been hit very hard by this virus, and they're trying their best to contain it, at least to what the outside world knows at this time. And so devices are not being built. If devices are not being built, Microsoft's not selling licenses. Microsoft's not selling licenses. They're not making money. And so that is why they are revising their guidance on their earnings that will be coming out here in a couple of months. Now, I fully expect a lot of other companies in the manufacturing segment to be following along here, because if you produce a good and you're not producing that good, it's harder to sell that good, it's harder to make money. Apple has already said, hey, we're not going to hit projections because they had to close their iPhone lines or their production lines, and they also had to close stores in China, which is a giant market for Apple. And so this is the tip of the iceberg, and it's starting to be a really serious issue. There's a couple other things that are floating around because of this. Microsoft is actually pulling out of the Game Developer Conference also because of this virus and this concern. They are not alone. Facebook has canceled F8, its developer conference, as well related to this. We all know that Mobile World Congress was also canceled, and the Geneva Auto Show, which is going to be taking place here soon, has also been canceled. This is a very serious issue. Now, it brings up other questions too. There are other conferences that are happening. Specifically, we have Microsoft's Build conference happening in May. We also have Google I/O. We also have Apple WWDC. All of these taking place on the West Coast. The question is, are these companies going to cancel their conferences? This is a tough situation, and I empathize with these companies because here's the deal. If they cancel it now, which is sort of a somewhat ideal scenario, because then people who were going to go have a good chance of getting their money back, canceling their flights, or at least repurposing the dollars that were going to be spent on those conferences. If they cancel now and then we find out, hey, this is like the peak of the virus and from here on out it's going to subside and everything's under control and everything's good and gravy, which we all hope, then it was a missed opportunity and they reacted too quickly. And so then the other side of the coin is they say, hey, we're not going to cancel it yet. But then they wait, and then it's 2 weeks prior to the event, and then they cancel it, and then, well, everybody who's kind of invested into it, they're going to have trouble getting their money back. It's a tough place to be in, and we're going to be watching these companies closely. Now, for companies like Microsoft, Apple, and Google, the nice thing here is that these are their own conferences. These aren't industry events, so this isn't the rule, generally speaking, but a lot of these conferences, the companies actually really don't make money. I think a break even is typically a target. I don't know the exact financials for all the companies. It's impossible to figure that out. But what they could do is just turn these into streaming events and then just make it open to everybody. I do wonder, like long term, if this sort of shift is going to happen, because the traditional conference doesn't really have the same merit it once did a long time ago. Granted, there is absolutely a significant amount of value, and I get value out of this too when I go meeting face to face with people, talking with project managers or project leads. There is value in all of that. Don't get me wrong, but is it worth the risk of spreading a disease that is ravishing the world? It's an interesting thing. I'll be curious to see if this ever has a longer lasting impact on the shape of future conferences. And so we shall see. LinkedIn is also starting to test stories this week. If you said, hey, I haven't noticed any stories, and if you're not familiar with that, it's usually like an icon at the top of a feed. You click it and people are just living their best life, if you will. I'm not really sure what they're going to be doing. Like here's me at a fax machine, here's me at the water cooler, here's me, paying my parking ticket. I don't know, whatever. LinkedIn is now testing that because that's, why not? This is one I honestly thought was already happening, but Microsoft is beginning the automated rollout of the new version of Edge with the later versions of some of the insider builds. I honestly thought this was already happening, but apparently it's not. So there you go. If you're not using the new Edge or it's not shown up yet, it should be in the near future as long as you're running an insider build. What I realistically think this means is that the next shipping version of Windows 10, which should arrive in a couple of months, I would think at this point, based on how they've been shipping things, that Edge, the new Edge is just going to be there by default. The old Edge will be gone, or at least hidden, and so keep that in mind. There was also a new video surfaced by Walking Cat that showed off a new feature, I say new in quotations, of the Surface Duo opening. It's almost like a peek, so you open it up and you can kind of see on the edge, and it's just a little bit of activity. While that video was new, the feature was actually shown off during, I believe, the actual keynote. If you watch the announcement video, it's a neat little feature. It's kind of like a privacy thing. So you have your sandwich here, you open it up, you can see just what's on the edge of that screen, just a couple notifications, and interact with them. It's a good idea. I think Microsoft is potentially onto something there. Apple is also working on a smart keyboard update, which might be coming in March potentially. Don't quote on that. That's just kind of speculation that there's going to be an iPad event in March. And what it will have, I know this is shocking, groundbreaking features here, is a trackpad. So actually the bigger reason for this is iPad OS is clearly morphing into a more tablet PC crossover area. And so if they truly do bring a touchpad to that smart keyboard and build it all in natively, that will actually bring a significant amount of functionality to the iPad Pro, and something that people have been asking for a very long time. Now it'll absolutely, I think, start eating into like the lower end MacBooks when it comes to laptop sales. Other things happening around the web. If you are looking for a new way to manage the sounds on your Windows 10 PC, Stardock has a neat little product out called Sound Packager, which makes it very easy to apply themes and audio sounds to your Windows 10 device. Now, I know you might be thinking, hey, I can already do that, but what this does is makes it really, really simple. That's kind of what Stardock does, is they take things that, well, they don't always exist, because they have an app called Groupie that basically brings tabs to everything, although Microsoft said they're bringing that at some point, but it has yet to show up. Anyways, you can go check out Sound Packager, and that should, fill that in. They actually have a little bit of shade in there. They have a theme called Fluent, and I said this is what Windows 10 should have sounded like, and I don't necessarily disagree. On to the gaming side. So GDC, as I said, Microsoft is not going to GDC this year. They are pulling out. The question becomes, is Microsoft had a bunch of sessions lined up that they were going to be presenting at the show. What I want to know, or I'm curious to know, is if one, is Microsoft still going to be presenting those sessions? I'm guessing not, but I suspect that they're still going to want to get that information out there. And I'm hoping that Microsoft is going to just publish these and make them, public domain so that anybody can go and watch them, because I typically like trying to catch up on this stuff, because you can get some nitty gritty details out of what Microsoft is telling developers about next generation consoles, about what their plans are and other things. So Microsoft, if you're listening, please just put those videos or sessions up online. I would love to take a look, and I think so many other people will too. Microsoft also announced this week that the Xbox Series X, we already know about the 12 T-flops, the resume stuff, but what they did not say, and did say at a later time of their non-official announcement, weird way of phrasing that, I know, is that the Xbox Series X will let you resume games even after a reboot. So one of the coolest features, and I wait till you guys get to see this, because I think this is going to be really, it's really cool. You can basically jump right back into a game exactly where you left off, multiplayer aside. Like if you're playing a single player campaign, if you think about getting rid of all those loading screens and everything else and like navigating to your save file, like it is really cool. And now the additional news was that, hey, even after a reboot of the console, because you got to install an update, and of course you got to reboot, it's a Microsoft product, just kidding, I know that's unnecessary shade. A lot of other companies let you do it or force you to do that. Your save state will still be there, which tells me a couple things. One is that it's just a file save or save state, which also means that it should be able to be portable, meaning that it should be able to go to xCloud or your PC or wherever. You should be able to take that state eventually, I'm not saying it's going to happen day one, and move it to any other of your Xbox instances, if you will. That's a pretty neat thing. We also know the 12 T-flops. There's more and more rumors out there that Sony's PlayStation 5 is going to be around 9.2-ish T-flops, something like that. I do think that if Sony somehow has like 13 T-flops or 14 T-flops up their sleeve, not expecting that they will be coming out with that very soon, to kind of, quiet the Xbox ravaging waters or whatever you want to call it. But that's the rumor for the PlayStation 5. Obviously, PlayStation 5 will still be a very good console, more than likely be less expensive than the Xbox Series X, unless Microsoft is willing to take a hit on that pricing. So we will see. And I also put up a video yesterday talking about xCloud streaming of PC games. And so there you go. You can go check that out on the channel. Like I said, no Q&A this week because I forgot. And there was just a lot of things going on, and I legitimately just forgot to put it up. So there you go, guys. Thanks for tuning in. We'll catch all of you right back here next week to see what Microsoft and the gaming world has in store for all of us.